Next up, we have a presentation on the National Citizen Survey results from Ms. Damema Mann. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Let me find the presentation here. Thanks for having me. And before I get started, I wanted to officially thank Dallin Kimball. He was my main point of contact throughout this project, and he was really great to work with and helped make it a really easy process in our eyes from our end. So really appreciate that. So the National Citizen Survey is a survey conducted by my firm, National Research Center, in partnership with the International City, County, and City Managers Association, ICMA, and also the National League of Cities. It is a general citizen survey that asks a wide range of questions that has to do with community livability, service delivery, overall quality of life. And it's a mostly templatized survey, which allows us, that level of standardization allows us to give you a really high quality, tried and true survey at a lower cost than most, and also allows us to give benchmark comparisons for each item on the survey. And as I mentioned, it covers a wide range of topics. Mainly, the main goal is to measure community livability as a whole. Because we've found that great communities are partnerships of the government, private sector, community-based organizations, and residents. So the NCS, the National Citizen Survey, we call it the NCS, captures these opinions within the three pillars of a community, which we've identified as community characteristics, governance, and participation. If you've had a look at the reports, some of these items here will look familiar to you in terms of the way the reports overall are organized. It's based on those three pillars. Within those three pillars of governance, participation, and community characteristics are 8 facets of community livability, and we've derived these from extensive research into models of community livability: safety, natural environment, mobility, built environment, economy, education and enrichment, community engagement, and recreation and wellness. This is the second time we've conducted the NCS for Ashland. The first time was in 2011, and it was a scientific, as in 2011, it was a scientific sample of 1,200 randomly selected households within town limits. Survey respondents received, it was a multi-contact mailed survey. They also had the option to complete the survey online if they chose. They could do either, and we scientifically weight the data back to census norms for Ashland in order to make sure that we're really giving you a representative scientific sample of all of your residents. As I mentioned briefly on the first slide, the level of standardization of the NCS allows us to create benchmark comparisons or an average rating for each of the items on the survey. And when I get into your results, and as you've probably seen in your reports, what that allows us to do is, in addition to giving you Ashland's rating, we're also able to let you know if that's similar to what we see in other communities, if it's higher than in other communities, or lower. We have about 550 different jurisdictions across the U.S. in our comparison database. Just to give you a brief overview of how Ashland did stacked up to those other communities, of all of the comparisons, about 104 received similar ratings in Ashland, 12 were higher and 2 were lower. And I did want to make a note here. If you're familiar, I know several of you were on council in 2011 when we had that report, and we have made some changes to our methodology since then. So in 2011, Ashland had probably had a lot more that were higher than the benchmark. What we did about a year ago, intentionally, in order to try and make the data more actionable for communities, is we made it much harder to be higher than or lower than the benchmark. And our expectation now is that most communities should see most ratings similar to the benchmark. And when something is higher than the benchmark, it's something that's really, truly outstanding in your community. And if something's lower than the benchmark, it could be a potential area for further attention. So it's an attempt to make that more actionable. And listening to that last presentation, I wanted to point out, I'm going to have a slide about this in a minute, but one of the highlights of those 12 items that were higher than the benchmark in Ashland, a lot of them had to do with mobility. And in fact, traffic enforcement was one of the highest ratings we've seen in our database in Ashland. So it's interesting. This honeycomb you see here, again, are based on those 8 facets of community livability. We called them key focus areas. We asked a question on the survey asking residents to rate on a scale of essential to not at all important, how important each one of these facets is for the town to focus on in the coming 2 years. And the 2 items with the stars there, safety and economy, came out on top. And we calculated an average for each one of these facets, and so that color blue you see there means that overall most items in each of those facets was similar to the benchmark. So now I'll get into some key findings. There's a lot of data in these reports. The survey generates a lot of data points, so I'm going to kind of just try and give you a top overview so I don't keep you here all night. So just to go over the key findings, residents continue to enjoy a very high quality of life in Ashland. At least 4 in 5 gave ratings of excellent or good to the overall quality of life. Ashland is a place to live, as a place to raise kids, and the overall appearance of the town. Most of the questions on the survey are asked on a scale of excellent, good, fair, or poor. So often we'll be talking about the percent excellent and good. All of these items were similar to the benchmark comparison, and a couple were trending down from 2011, so they're still rated very highly and on par with other communities, but could potentially be something to take a look at. You do have a detailed trends report that goes more into depth with that, and I did want to mention that while the margin of error around the 2014 results is plus or minus 5%, when we're looking at the comparisons from 2011 to 2014, we want to be looking for anything that's higher than 7% or lower than 7% in order to determine if it's a real statistically significant difference among years. Touched on this a little bit, but mobility ratings were another real highlight, and I think something that to us it looks like contributes to the high quality of life here in Ashland. Those items that are colored darker blue were higher than the benchmark, so higher than what we see in comparison communities. The lighter blue is similar to the benchmark. These all received excellent or good ratings by at least 3 in 5 respondents. And other services related to mobility were also higher than the benchmark. As I mentioned already, traffic enforcement, that I believe ranked 10th in our database of over 300 jurisdictions. Street repair and street cleaning were also higher than the benchmark. So it's definitely an area where Ashland stood out. Residents feel safe in Ashland. They identified safety as one of the most important focus areas for the community. We asked residents to rate their overall safety in Ashland on a scale of excellent, good, fair, or poor. And about 85% said excellent or good, which was similar to the benchmark. That is a newer question to the survey, so we don't have trend data for you on that one. Those that felt safe in their neighborhoods and in downtown and commercial areas, virtually all respondents said they felt safe, about 94%. And those had remained stable over time and were similar to the benchmarks. Looking at safety services, these were also rated highly. My colors are looking a little muddled, but the crime prevention should be looking darker than the other two. Crime prevention was higher than the national benchmark, so higher than what we see in most other communities. Police services and emergency preparedness received very strong marks and were similar to the benchmark. Police services and emergency preparedness remained stable over time, and crime prevention did decrease a little bit, but it's still among the highest ratings we have. And additionally, we asked residents if they or anyone in their household had been a victim of a crime in Ashland in the last 12 months, and virtually all said nobody had been a crime victim. Economy was also identified as a focus area. And overall, characteristics of the economy are rated positively. In Ashland, at least 6 in 10 respondents gave excellent or good ratings to the overall economic health. Ashland is a place to visit, quality of businesses and service establishments, and the town as a place to work. Those ratings were all similar to the benchmark, and when comparisons to 2011 were available, they were stable over time. Additionally, we ask a question on the survey. We ask residents to rate their overall personal economic outlook if they feel that the coming 6 months are going to have a positive impact on their own personal income, and that rating did increase from 2011 to 2014. One of the benefits of the NCS, while it's mostly a templatized survey, there is a section on the survey where we can ask questions that are completely specific to Ashland. So we worked with town staff on these. The first question asked about town hall renovations. The wording on the survey was, recent building analyses suggest that Ashland Town Hall may require significant structural work and other remodeling to serve its current needs. The town is interested in possibly renovating Town Hall with some additions or replacing Town Hall with a larger, more efficient building on the same plot. And residents were asked to rate if they strongly supported, somewhat opposed, or strongly opposed each of these items. You can see getting the most support was to renovate the existing town hall and former Ashland Fire Department. 80% at least somewhat supporting that. Over half also supported constructing a new town hall on the current site, and close to half supported minimally renovating the existing town hall and constructing a town hall annex across Duncan Street, and only 30% supported minimally renovating town hall and adding trailers where necessary. And in fact, the percent that strongly opposed that was about 46%. So there was more strong opposition than even somewhat support for that option. So that was the least popular. The next question had to do with the town budget. The town is in the process of creating a 5-year budget plan to help balance the budget and reinforce long-term fiscal stability. And we asked residents how much they would support or oppose each of these methods to balance the budget. You can see about half supported slowing down capital projects and also borrowing money to pay for capital projects. Only about 36% supported raising taxes or fees to maintain current service levels, and only 20% supported reducing or eliminating services and staff, such as leaf pickup, park maintenance, trash pickup. And in fact, 56% strongly opposed that measure. The final custom question asked about some specific priorities in Ashland, and I put all of the frequencies here. It was asked on a high priority, medium priority, not a priority scale. So you can see that a majority rated all of them as at least a medium priority, but there's still some clear items at the top there that were rated as a much higher priority by residents. Balancing the town budget is up at the top, followed by infrastructure to support economic development. So kind of reinforcing that economy theme, that's really one of the most important things to residents when you ask it about several different kind of facets of it. Homelessness and long-term hotel occupancy came next, followed by continuing redevelopment of downtown, then renovating town hall, upgrading park features, and increasing public art. While those are lower on the list, there's still a majority saying they're at least a medium priority. So in conclusion, quality of life remains very high in Ashland. The ratings in 2011 and 2014 are very high. They tend to be at least similar to the benchmark. Overall, trends from 2011 to 2014 are stable. There are some items that have decreased over time and a handful that have increased, but the majority of them were stable. Some of the highlights, I think, that have to do with quality of life had to do with some of those really exceptional mobility ratings we saw. Residents value safety, and almost all of them feel very safe here. It's definitely a priority and something that I think it sounds like you're already doing a great job at. And economy, I think in just about any community, across the nation, that's an area where there's room to improve, but residents are feeling more positive about the economy and see that as a top priority for town. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. Mann? Comments? Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Mr. Kimball for all the work he put in on this project as well.
Happy to do it.
Thanks very much.
Mr. Mayor, I did have a comment.
Comment, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we've gone over a fair amount of information at the surface level, and I appreciate the word that you used in the beginning with actionable, because certainly we have a lot to be pleased with, but at the same time, we've made this investment, we've got this information, and so just want the public to know as we dig deeper into this, we do want to make it actionable so that we take this information and use it to continue to improve every aspect of the town that we can. So I appreciate your efforts and the information that's contained.
Great.
This is not a report which is going to sit on the shelf. It's a report that we're going to work with.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.